Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello students. Let's continue. Today we have listening, listen, and some vocabulary to do. Let's go on
Traveler.
with our lesson. It is unit 4, listening, and some vocabulary as you see here. This is our lesson for today. Let's go on. Here we have you will have here part of a talk in which expert is talking about body language. Listen and complete the sentences. We are not talking about sign language here, remember, huh? Sign language is different from body language. Body language, it means that when you talk, you use your hands, you use your face, you use expressions. This is what we call body language. Let's listen and then after that complete the sentences here. Let's begin. Listen carefully, please.
Unit 4. 2. You will hear part of a talk in which an expert is talking about body language. Listen and complete the sentences 1 to 10.
It's important to realize that communication is not limited to verbal exchanges. When we speak to each other, we convey a number of messages using our bodies, facial expressions, and tone of voice. Non-verbal communication or body language can give us an indication of what people are really thinking or feeling by either reinforcing or contradicting what is being said. But body language can be misinterpreted, so I would urge listeners not to jump to conclusions when assessing other people's physical signals. Probably the best way to convey to others what we are feeling is with our faces. Often words aren't even needed when one look or facial expression will do the trick. For example, when we want to show happiness, we smile and our eyes sparkle. When we are surprised, we widen our eyes and our jaws drop open. When we are afraid, our upper eyelids rise, making the whites of the eyes more visible, and our lips become tense. These facial expressions are common to people from all cultural backgrounds, but one should keep in mind the fact that some types of facial expressions differ from country to country. In North America, for example, people blush to show embarrassment. In Japan, embarrassment is shown by laughter or giggling. I'm sure you've heard the expression, "the eyes are the window to the soul." There is great truth to this, because our eyes very clearly communicate what we are thinking and feeling. Eye contact is a particularly important element of face-to-face communication. If you want to form a bond with someone, it's vital that you maintain eye contact for at least 60 to 70% of the conversation. According to some studies, when Westerners talk to each other, they make eye contact about 61% of the time, and the average gaze lasts about 2.95 seconds. Remember, though, that in some Asian and South American countries, making eye contact for an extended period of time is frowned upon, because it can make the individual seem rude or hostile. Sometimes people avoid or break eye contact. There are many possible reasons for this. The person might be feeling embarrassed, ashamed, or guilty, or he might be feeling uncomfortable in the presence of the individual he is talking to. Avoidance of eye contact might also be a sign that the person is feeling nervous and wants to avoid a confrontation. Posture is another important indicator of a person's mood or attitude. For example, positive, happy people tend to carry themselves upright, while people who may be sad or bored will often slouch or collapse into their bodies. Another interesting point is that people who are fond of each other often lean in towards each other when engaged in conversation. Of course, it's not just our faces and bodies that communicate our feelings to other people. Very often, we use objects, such as glasses or pens, to send a non-verbal message. For example, people who have been pressured into making a decision and want to play for time will take off their glasses, slowly wipe the lenses, and then put their glasses back on. Sometimes people use sunglasses to hide their eyes and therefore their feelings, and to create a distance between themselves and the person they are talking to. Objects can also be used to make us feel more safe and secure, and to relieve tension. When people feel nervous, they may click a pen or chew on a pencil. People who are anxious might play with their jewelry or fiddle with their clothing. Body language is indeed a fascinating aspect of human communication. It gives us greater insight into other people's thoughts, feelings and attitudes, and ultimately makes the communication process richer and more rewarding.
Good. Let's continue the sentences here. Body, the first one, number one, body language has to do with using our bodies, facial expressions, and tone of voice to convey messages. Facial expressions, number two, showing surprise and fear are common to people from all cultural backgrounds. Happiness. Showing happiness, surprise, and fear are common. The Japanese express embarrassment by or giggling. By what? Laughter or giggling. The speaker thinks that the expression, the eyes are the window to the, is true. To the soul is true. To communicate successfully with someone, you should maintain eye contact for at least of the conversation, for at least 60, 70, 50, what do you think? 60 to 70% of the conversation. In some Asian and South American countries, prolonged eye contact can be regarded as being or hostile. Rude. We can say hostile or hostile in general. A person who feels guilty or embarrassed might choose to eye contact. Avoid or break eye contact. Number 8. People who do not stand or sit upright when having a conversation. Who are what? Who are sad. Number 9. Objects, for instance, are often used to communicate our feeling to others. Glasses or pens are often used to communicate our feelings. People sometimes use objects to make themselves feel more safe and secure. Let's move on. Here we have pre-listening pictures here. What do you think about system of communication here? What are the systems of communication here? You have Egyptian hieroglyphics, Sumerian cuneiform, Chinese characters, cave paintings, and smoke signals. These are ways of communication. Here, let's move to the second conversation here, or the second listening here. We are going to hear to 5 speakers. We are going to match each speaker with his sentence. Let's continue quickly.
4. You will hear 5 different people talking about ways in which different civilizations communicated. Choose from the list A to F the statement that best describes each civilization. Use the letters only once. There is one extra letter which you do not need to use. Speaker 1.
There is one extra, remember, and write your answers while the conversation is going on. It doesn't matter, huh? I'll give you the answers at the end. Let's continue.
Cave paintings made thousands of years ago by prehistoric man were the first real attempts at visual communication. Early artists used 4 basic paint colors: black, white, red, and yellow, to depict various scenes, the subjects of which were usually animals. Experts believe that cave paintings were intended to pass on information to other tribes about the hunting environment. Cave paintings and rock drawings were also used to warn others of potential danger. An example of this is a rock drawing that was found near a steep path in New Mexico. The picture shows a mountain goat standing up, while a man and a horse lie on the ground nearby. The drawing is intended to warn horse riders that the path is too steep for horses.
Speaker 2.
Right, thanks.
The world's first writing system was invented by the Sumerians in Mesopotamia in order to keep accurate records of the number of agricultural and manufactured goods that they produced. The Sumerians drew pictures of these items on the surface of wet clay tablets. These pictures were usually of objects such as sheep, wheat, or bread. Gradually, the images evolved into a system of symbols called cuneiform. This writing system, which consisted of about 600 symbols, was used by the Sumerians to create all sorts of documents from contracts and tax receipts to sales records.
Speaker 3.
In ancient Egypt, the written system of communication was called hieroglyphics. This form of writing consisted of picture symbols which represented ideas and sounds. The Egyptians used hieroglyphics for religious purposes and to keep a record of the activities of the royals. Only specially trained individuals called scribes were allowed to use this writing system. At around the same time, the Egyptians developed hieratic writing, a system of writing which could be used for daily communication. This type of writing was a simplified version of hieroglyphics and was used for letters and for keeping records and accounts.
Speaker 4. Written Chinese has no alphabet and is made up of about 50,000 symbols or characters. According to legend, Chinese characters were invented by a man named Zhang Jie, who spent years studying nature and developing symbols that represented the individual characteristics of various plants and animals. The average Chinese person can recognize about 5,000 frequently used characters, which is enough to be able to read a novel or a newspaper. To understand ancient Chinese documents, an individual would have to learn many more characters. Speaker 5.
The many tribes that lived in North America hundreds of years ago all spoke different languages. In order to communicate successfully with each other, the Native Americans developed a sign language system which consisted of numerous gestures and movements. They also used smoke signals to send messages to each other. This involved covering a fire with a blanket and removing it quickly to allow a puff of smoke to rise up into the air. Senders were able to control the size, shape, and timing of the smoke. The puffs of smoke were visible from a great distance, but the messages that were sent were usually very simple and therefore quite limited.
I hope that you have answered all the question. Let's see, speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4, speaker 5. I'm sure that some of you have made them all right. Let's continue. We have the vocabulary. We have one exercise vocabulary here. Let's move to page 47. Quickly here. We have here, read the sentences 1 to 5 and match the items here in bold with the meaning. I'm all ears. What's the meaning of I'm all ears here? I'm all ears. It means what? Yes. It means to listen very closely to what is being said. I got cold feet. It means what? Yes. It means to become too nervous to take part in a difficult or dangerous situation. Down in the mouth. Yes. It means unhappy. Turn a blind eye to. It means, yes, to take no notice of something which has happened. An arm and a leg. It means very big. Yes. It means a large amount of money. I'm all fingers and thumb. Yes. It means to be unable to do something practical. Let's continue. Break a leg. Yes. Yeah. J. Good luck. Put his foot down. Yes. It means to insist on something happening. Have the cheek to. It means L, to act in a shocking and rude way. I had my heart in my mouth. It means yes. K, to be excited, worried, or frightened. Flesh and blood. It means what? It's very easy. Yes. Someone's family. Someone's own family. Keeps his head. It means what? Yes. The last one. It means to be calm in a different situation. Now, this is the last thing that we are going to take for today. Remember to do, as always, the workbook. It's a very easy exercise today. It's on page 33, the upper half of the page, vocabulary only. Don't do the grammar. See you, inshallah, next time. Thank you and be safe.